Hello and welcome to another episode of Marty's Matchbox Makeovers. So what do I have in store for you today? Well, it is this number 75A. It's a Matchbox Lesney early one, 1960s. It's the Ford Thunderbird. What a fantastic name for a car, but it had a huge engine in it. This particular model, I believe there's not as many of them around as there are some of the more common models that Matchbox brought out. And for that reason, I hummed and hawed about doing a makeover on this one. But looking at the condition and looking online, if you've got one in mint condition in the box, it can go for like $300 or $400, maybe more. So a model of this condition is only going to be worth about $20. And I can't imagine anyone wanting this in their collection in this current state. So anyway, I've always wanted one of each, and this is one that I haven't got, so I thought I'd do it. I'm a bit strapped for time this week, so this build's probably going to take a couple of days. Anyway, looking it up in the Encyclopedia of Matchbox Toys, as I said before, it came out in 1960. The base plate is apparently blue or bluey green, or some of them are black. And they came out with all kinds of wheels on them, black, silver and grey ones. And according to this encyclopedia, the price guide at the back, it is from 1997, by the way. If the model's got black tyres, it's worth double the price, really, because they were fairly rare. Now, I've sorted the thumbnail. A few people have commented that they can't watch my videos because my horrible thumbnail is in the process of healing. So I've covered it up for the purposes of this video, and I hope you appreciate that. And it doesn't offend you. So here we go. It says the number 75 Ford Thunderbird, made in England by Lesney. And this monstrous car would be perfect for towing one of those huge aluminium caravans. So it comes equipped with a tow ball on it. Although this one's a little bit bent. So I'll have to be straightening that out, I think. You see it's two-tone colour. There's a lot of wear and chipping on this model. The bottom is like a peachy orange, so that's going to be a challenge to make that up. The front grille is silver. The headlights are highlighted in silver too. And this side maybe looks a little bit worse, I think. Even the roof's got chipped. I guess it's been thrown in the toy box a few times. And check this out. They even painted the rear lights. Now, some of these were painted with one big splodge filling that whole area, and I know why. I'll show you why later. It's quite tricky to do. Anyway, first up, take out these rivets using a suitably sized drill just to take off the outer edge of that rivet there, so that as we all know, the thing falls apart once you take those out. Always a little bit nervous doing the drilling out. A couple of models, one of my first models, I think, the Mercedes truck. It's sort of like a greeny blue colour. I drilled through the rear of that one when I was trying to drill out the rivet and then tap a hole. So I'm always a little bit nervous here in case maybe the drill might wander off target and score the base, which has also happened. But today I'm not having any problems. I think that this drill might be fairly sharp, and the fact that the rivets were formed with a nice concave finish on them helped the drill to self-centralise. It's doing a great job. So I try to leave a little bit on there so it snaps on as well as snapping off. This one came off. It looked like I'd left, or rather I should say I thought I'd left a sort of small amount of that retaining portion of the rivet so I could snap it back on, but this one just fell off, so I might have gone a little bit overboard there. Never mind, I'm sure it's not the first time, I'm sure it will be alright. This rear axle is unusual in that there's only a few models I've seen like this where there's no mushrooms on the end, and that's because the side of the car at the rear holds the wheels in on the toy, not on the real car obviously. Here's one I did, the Cadillac. This is one I did a while ago, and that has the same system for retaining those rear wheels. So I guess it's something that Matchbox did for these types of models. I actually thought these were very, very similar when I first got it out of the cupboard, but they are, but they're not, if you know what I mean. Interestingly, they've both got coloured bases too, the burgundy and the blue on this one. So I've got to take this windscreen out. That came out pretty easy, no worries there. Now having a look at it, I could see it's got Ford Thunderbird stamped into it, or moulded into it, and the number 75 there. So if you find it kicking around on the floor, you know where it belongs, in which box of parts it should go, if you're working in the factory. So I didn't damage that transparency because I used this famous drill of mine. I'm just showing it to you if you're a first time viewer. I modified the drill on the left to have a shallow cut so I don't go through the roof. So only one set of wheels to take off here. Last time I did this, I used the idea that somebody sent in of a hole drilled in a feeler gauge to protect the tyre from damage. Well, I tried to use it and it was so fiddly and frustrating that I gave up and did it old school, the old way I've done it. You do run the risk of damaging the tyres, but I did it with no backing plate to protect the tyre, so it worked anyway. That's the main thing. I take those tyres and wheels off and paint them up, clean them and paint them up so they look new. I've gone for the silver look on this model, silver tyres and wheels. And then I sometimes forget this process and paint it, and then I have to do this after it's painted, which is never a good idea. So I've kind of trained myself now. Before I strip the paint, I drill these out and tap them. That way it doesn't get forgotten. This was unusual drilling out this drill. It kind of went in and stopped. So whether it was a hard lump of metal in there somehow, I don't know. I checked the drill thinking it was bunged up. There was a little bit in there, but it was still quite hard. I had to actually push on it. Normally it drags itself in, which I thought was odd. And what else was odd about it was the one on the back, it had like a void in the hole. So as I'm drilling, all of a sudden the drill dropped in like a millimetre or so. And I thought, oh God, I've gone through the boot. But no, it was something odd happening there. Maybe a bubble of air in the casting somehow. It took me a little while to get this tap started. Maybe I should invest in a new one. I've used it for over 100 models now. Still, it does a fairly good job still. You can see the thread there that it's cut. And as normal, I'm going to use the 2M button-headed screws to put the base back on. So I'll put those in now, so that when I spray the model, the thread doesn't get filled up with paint. And also it means that the heads of the rivets match the colour of the model, which is kind of more original than it would be if you put them in and they were black on a blue base, for example. Didn't actually drill deep enough, you see. I was that shook up by the abnormalities I discovered in those posts that I was scared to go any further, but I had to in the end to get those rivets, to get those bolts to sit flat. Now I bought these wonderful little pots on eBay. They're for soy sauce or similar, and they've got snap lock lids on them. And this is going to be a game changer because normally I'm using these other pots and I throw any leftover paint away. But today when I mix the paint up, I can store it in these pots with lids and if I need to touch up the model at the end, I'll have some fresh blended paint there to use. So all these colours here I'm going to use to try and mimic that peachy pink colour that the model came out with. So I started with pink. I know it sounds silly, doesn't it? It's the wrong pink. So I have to change it to a peachy pink, and it's kind of got a little bit of orange in it. So to make this colour, I'm adding just 2 drops there of the yellow to the original Tamiya pink straight out the pot. And I'm just doing it as an experiment really, because I've never mixed up this colour before. And it looks too pink still. It's not right, look. Far too light. I'll get that off. Back to the drawing board. Might add some more yellow. How about that? Test 2. Oh. Thought it was good in the light. Then a closer inspection. Not much of an improvement. Bung a bit more of that yellow in. Aha. Now we're getting somewhere. I'm close to where I want to be. If I spread that out and, well, you know, maybe one more. This could be it. This probably is it, I'm thinking. Can't be going on forever. The clock's ticking. Wasn't quite right. Added 1 blob of red. Now the red's very, very dark and very strong colour, almost like black. And it made quite a vast difference to the colour of the paint. And there you go, look at that. So what was it, 4 blobs of yellow? Or 6? And now 2 blobs of red. I've changed sides. That side's getting worn out because I keep putting it on and brushing it off. Yeah, I think that'll do. I'm happy with that. That's brilliant. Now I can snap the lid on and set it aside for when it comes time to paint. Now I won't show you the process of mixing up the white paint because it makes for a boring video. But it took just as long because the white paint is an unusual off-white. So I just put a little bit of thinners in with the pink there, the peachy pink. And hopefully it will still be usable in the airbrush when I get round to it. I also mixed up the blue for the underside. I actually wasted a lot of paint there because I used clear blue that I put on police beacons and emergency vehicle beacons. And I couldn't get the colour right, and it was when I checked the pot I'd used the wrong colour, blue. I just grabbed it off the shelf and thought it was blue, but it wasn't, it was clear blue. So I chucked that away, which is a bit annoying. Mind you, I haven't done an emergency vehicle for a while, so I don't know when I'll be needing that clear blue colour in the future. So stripping off the paint, I'm using that poly stripper, paint stripper, and it's absolute magic, that stuff. You have a look at this. It's so fast at removing the paint. It is absolutely amazing stuff. It does a really good job. So that's done. Now the windscreen looks pretty good. Just a little bit dull here and there. I don't know whether that's like abrasion from dust coming out of the vacuum cleaner in the bedroom. You know, when it's on your windowsill, your mum's hoovering your bedroom. But they all seem to have a little bit of wear on the windscreen. I can't imagine where it comes from, really. just makes them look a bit dull. So I'm going to use some of this aluminium. It says semi-chrome, but it says it's suitable for aluminium polishing. I'm doing it on the top first to make sure that there's no reaction, you know, like thinners that might make it go opaque. And after about 10 minutes, I look at it and it doesn't seem to have affected it anyway. So I shall now have a go at polishing the windows using those small little cotton buds and the polishing cream. So already I'm seeing results and I'm feeling good about this. And I noticed an unusual imperfection in the windscreen. I thought it was a chip, but it's not. It's actually smooth on the outside and it's smooth on the inside. So it must be a small amount of dust that's gotten into the plastic moulding injection machine, or maybe even in the product that they use in the machine. So a little speck of dust there encapsulated for the next 1,000 years. Something I've never seen before. Now, giving the model a quick coat of the Tamiya light grey undercoat, it kind of highlights all the imperfections in this vehicle actually. Rather than making it look glorious, it makes it look a little bit worn out. However, it did highlight this bonnet ornament and I didn't know what that was supposed to represent. So I went online and I found out it's this like bird with a red beak and 2 red eyes. Thunderbird, I guess that's what they look like. You can see the casting lines on this model are not particularly well formed. This is such an early model. And even around the headlight there, I thought that was a clump of paint around the headlight on the left there. I've got a dental pick in there and it's not, it's actually metal. So the moulding wasn't particularly good on this model compared to the later ones. I'll switch on the old air compressor. I've had this now for about 6 years. It served me well, never let me down. That reminds me, I should drain the water out of it actually. I haven't done that for probably over 12 months. Always put a bit of thinners through the airbrush before I start, just to like lube it up a bit. And away we go. Now I'm painting it white first and I've got to do the peachy orange second. And I must admit, I'm very pleased with the white and I'm very anxious because rather than just leaving it be, I've now got to stuff around masking it off and painting the orange over it when the white's dry. And it's something I don't enjoy doing, masking and painting. Very time consuming. So I'm not looking forward to that. The dark blue base, very unusual choice of colour for a model. I made it a little bit quirky, I suppose. Maybe it was something nobody else had done and they were trialling different coloured bases to see whether or not people liked them. I'm so paranoid about getting fingerprints on this vehicle that I put it out in the sun for about 3 hours in my little greenhouse to bake the paint on, so that when I mask it off, hopefully removing the masking tape, it won't pull the paint off. Downloaded this photo offline and printed it off to remind me of where the pink goes, because this is the only model I have of this number 75, so I've got no reference. So I'm going to try this Jammy Dog micro masking tape. This is the 3mm one. It goes down to 1mm, and I thought I'd try the 3. So the idea is I'm going to like go around the edge of the different colour with the thin stuff and then mask the rest of the model off with the thicker stuff. And hopefully it'll work. There must be an art to this, and I don't do enough of it. I do press down all the edges with a toothpick and try and make sure it's in the seams. And on goes this lovely rosy pink, or peachy pink. It's a beautiful colour, really. I'd love to see this car in real life painted with this colour. I reckon it would stand out from all the classic cars that would be parked on a Sunday afternoon at a car meet. This would be the one people would be hovering around. Okay, so having removed the masking tape, I'm not happy. It pulled paint off the door, smudged all the top coat to the rear of the left guard there. There's a little bit of paint missing off the top. There's overspray on the inside. I didn't see that coming. From the inside, I should say. And look, the masking tape has left sticky residue on the roof, which has basically made it impossible to use or repair. And the only option I have is to strip it down and repaint it. And I kind of, this is my worst case scenario in my mind. I thought about it happening and it happened. So what I did, I pulled out my old little electric oven here. And the second time I painted it, I put the model in there to try and bake the paint on to make it not come off with the masking tape. Anyway, it was such a good job of painting it again. It looked so good. I didn't want to put masking tape on it. So I thought I might have to paint that pink by hand. And I had this little model and I just used the paint that I'd made with a standard brush to see what the finish is like, and it actually looks not bad. So I thought, well, it was very late in the evening now. Everyone's gone to bed. I'm here trying to get this to a stage where I can sleep easy and know that tomorrow most of the work will be done. So basically I'm putting a fair amount of paint on there and just spreading it around. It's pooling and finding its own level, and I'm actually quite pleased. Luckily the viscosity of the paint that I made was ideal for painting it on. And I thought, well, I should have just done that in the first place. Now it looks a little bit irregular and I can't let that pass, so I do spend a lot of time just going over it very, very, very slowly improving it each time. And then I'm baking it on again so that tomorrow when I get up I can handle it without leaving fingerprints on it. So not much to this model really. I've painted the painting, it's half the battle really. Only one axle to peen over. I can't be bothered going out to the shed, so I'm going to use a ball peen hammer to peen the end over. So I tap it like 100 times and I'm making very, very, very minor adjustments with each hit, trying to round the tip of the axle off evenly. Looks not bad, quite neat, except it's on a bit of an angle. So what I do, I put it back on the vise and give it a few more strikes. It wasn't many, might have been 10, and it came good. So that was a bit of a win. Going to put this windscreen back in, a little bit of silicone on a cocktail stick there, just to hold it in place. After I put the windscreen in, I looked and I thought there didn't seem to be anything there supporting it. Like if I didn't have the silicone and I inverted that to put it together, I think it would have fallen out. It doesn't even extend down to the base plate. So it's totally reliant on that rivet or some form of glue to hold it in. I went to put this on and I'm thinking, oh, hang on. I do need to put the axle in first. I got a bit carried away there. I thought, oh, this is an easy model. I don't have to worry about the axle. So I start assembling it and I think, right, how's it go? And then I realised I have to pull it apart and put it in through the holes first. Oh, has to go through there. I think I'm not getting enough sleep. I'm making a few mistakes here. Drop it in. It doesn't have any lugs or anything. You know, some of the later models, they thought, how can we save money? I know, let's use one rivet. So they invented a lug at the back or the front to engage in a slot. And instantly overnight they saved, you know, £100 on rivets. It's starting to take shape. Got to do the detailing now, which is a big job. Tail lights and headlights. Now the tail lights are recessed in these tail light recesses and it's pretty awkward getting the brush in there without touching the sides. I mean, it's ridiculously small. This is one of the smallest paintbrushes I've got, and it doesn't hold enough paint to sort of spread, so you have to kind of touch every little bit to get the paint on it. You can't sort of blob it. And it was very time consuming. In fact, one of the lights bled into the well and I had to wait for it to dry and fill it in with some of the cream colour. So anyway, I went the extra yard and I couldn't resist. I touched up the bonnet Ford Thunderbird badge with a tiny little bit of chrome paint because I felt it's going in the cupboard at my place and I want it to look good. I thought it'd be an extra little detail that would make it stand out. But you've got to admit, it's a beautiful looking car. It's so good, Kevin took it round to his mates to show it off. The only thing is, he's been gone for hours. I hope he's back soon. Well, speak of the devil, here he comes now. So I hope you've enjoyed this makeover, and if you have, please like and subscribe, and as usual, recommend to your friends. So until next time, this is Marty from Marty's Matchbox Makeovers, so thanks for watching, and goodbye!